Hello everybody, I'm Father Peter Kazmarek, the pastor of St. Francis Parish in Greenlawn, and I'm here today to give you a very brief introduction to what hopefully the homily that you'll be hearing at Sunday Mass will be about, and then also for those people a little closer to home, a little update on things going on in the parish. Well, the gospel is the transfiguration of Jesus. And we really need to understand this because there's a lot of ways of misunderstanding this. Some of the more daring or let's say creative commentators, exegetes on the scriptures, take this out of that whole sense, say this is a post-resurrection appearance of Jesus to his apostles that was put in the wrong place. So basically the idea of the transfiguration of Jesus during his earthly life, they just write it right off. See, so there is no real theology behind that, okay? There's really no firm basis for doing that, except that certain exegetes like to eliminate as many of the miracles of Jesus as possible if there's only one reference. It's the law of the single instance that it's reported only once. Now, the transfiguration of Jesus is reported in all of the Gospels, but on the other hand, it's the same episode, the same words, so they count it as one. However, there's a good way of explaining and defending the positioning of it by saying there's a real experience. It was a real experience. Remember that the apostles had to go through a colossal ordeal after the crucifixion of Jesus. They were in absolute panic over what was going to be happening to them. Okay, they were hiding and they removed themselves, and of course they were so upset about what might happen that when Peter actually is freed from prison at that time, and it's still in the early days, he knocks on the door of the hiding place. A servant girl opens up. She sees him and closes the door right in his face. Okay, it says it must be his angel. It's an interesting thing because we were discussing guardian angels too lately, but that's another topic. Okay, so we'll try to take care of that later. So you have the transfiguration of Jesus. What is it all about? The apostles were going to go through a huge meltdown after the resurrection. They needed anything to hang on to. They needed the multiplication of the loaves and fishes. They needed the miracle at Cana, the water turning into wine. They needed a powerful picture of Jesus as the Christ, as the center of history, with Moses and Elijah at his side. You can't do better than these folks, okay, if you're going to do things about the covenant, okay, because remember, the basic understanding of the Jewish people was that they were, of all the peoples of the earth, not the best, not the greatest, not the wealthiest, not the most achievable, not the most, even the most naturally obedient, but they were by God's favor chosen. And so Moses and Elijah, who represent the law and the prophets, okay, are there to back up Jesus' claims that he is the center of history, that he is the Lord of all, that he is the Christ. Okay, this is really what's going on. So the apostles need every penny they can get, so to speak, of evidence and fact, and we get another boost in that in the transfiguration of Jesus. So one of my important principles is please prepare your Mass. You know, it's not that Vatican II has failed. Some people say, well, look at Vatican II, it didn't have all the effects. Wait a minute. Have we been really trying it? Have we really been doing it? And other people say, well, you know, I really find more bonding in my yoga class or in my photography club or when I'm playing tre sette or something, drinking a little glass of wine and having a little cheese. Okay, I feel more comfortable there. Well, that's because you're putting your heart and soul into those events, and we have to learn how to put our heart and soul into the Mass. One of the things is we don't only get to Mass on time or really truly get there and be resolved to get there, but that we've looked ahead a little bit, so that we get the theme of the Mass. We understand what the gospel is going to be, so that we can say, did Father hit the nail on the head, or did he hit another nail, or did he get my point? All of those kind of things we'll be thinking about, and will be helping make our Mass what it really should be. So it's been a busy time. I already mentioned Father Cirilli is there, Father Lou. He's an interesting person. He's a married man who has his marriage collapsed. He was able to obtain an annulment. He'll tell you about this if you get to meet him, so there's no secrets out of school, but a wonderful priest for 30 years. And still on the road at 81, serving God in a very special way. So his appeal is his sincerity, his compassion, his evident empathy for the people that he's talking to, is his bonding with them. Healing and Eucharist, the two go together, and Father Cerulli presents them in a very warm and a very compassionate way. We're also doing a lot with our building project. You know, we've been working a year and a half to obtain the necessary permissions from the diocese, the necessary permits from Suffolk County, the health department, and believe it or not, I mean, they get involved with the trickiest things. You know, we have to put in another waste tank, and of course, one of the first thing they want to do is test our old one. Aha. And if they find any problems, they'll be sure to point them out to us. So anyway, we've got all that process. Now finally, we have a little bit of an earth, a shovel in the ground. So Sharon and I were out there with odd-shaped shovels, pretending we were moving some rocks. And of course, that was the equivalent of the first shovel. We took some pictures. But the beautiful thing is we actually did get the project physically started. We're hoping for a completion sometime during the summer and maybe a move. We have a tenant, Living Waters, wants to come out, needs a place. We think our needs and their needs can be met by taking this garage, which is really a substantial building for a 3-car garage, and turning it into like a counseling or meeting center. It'll add to our flexibility about the kinds of things that we can do here, much more than you might even think right off the bat. So remember, the parish has no third building. Remember, we had our increased giving campaign, how we decided to go for an elevator. And of course, that elevator has helped us in countless ways. But still, additional space is needed for the small groups sometimes that we have. Sometimes there is some interference with the sound coming upstairs. And so, for instance, we welcomed the Huntington Men's Chorus this year to be with us on Wednesday night. They needed a place to rehearse. With the pandemic going on, the schools weren't allowing any outsiders in. They found a home with us, and we hope that maybe they'll continue. They're giving us a small rental. So with all these things, just to be aware that we're busy, we're at work, we're delighted the pandemic is over, or not over, but at least we've moved to a phase, a more measured pace as far as our response to it, and we're looking forward to God's grace coming in with the summer. In the meantime, of course, we're watching awful things on television every night in Ukraine and all that. Remember, we're helping out. I will let you know next week what the take on our collection was, and as I say, we're there for you, and we're there for our people, and we're there for those who are suffering, both at home and abroad in so many different ways. Thank you so much. God bless you.